Hi there, everyone. This is video number 2 on my new channel involving mental illness and mental illness awareness and focusing on anxiety and depression. Um, the reason I wanted to do this was because of the fact that I realized there aren't videos out there for people with my specific anxiety disorder. So I have unspecified anxiety disorder, which I said in the other video. Um, it's not something to be worried about with me, like per se, because I'm very aware of myself and I know when things are going wrong. So I usually seek help when things are going wrong. But I know there are people out there who don't. And that's why I wanted to make these videos, not just for them, but for me as well, just so I can look back and remind myself that things aren't always as bad as they seem. But anyway, I'm going to go on with the topic of this video, which is actually OCD tendencies. So I wanted to go and tell you what OCD really meant first. So basically, everybody pretty much knows that OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. It's basically defined as having unwanted or repeated thoughts, feelings, ideas, or sensations that usually lead to compulsive actions. So any sort of compulsion is something you're driven to do. Some typical ones that are common, especially, they're the ones that you think of whenever you think of OCD, and having like a compulsion towards evenness or exactness, needing to know something or remembering, or being afraid that you won't remember something. Deciding whether or not to keep or discard things, that's a typical one. And then fear of losing things. Those are some pretty popular ones, pretty popular as obsessive tendencies. So, and they also might be categorized as compulsive depending on the actions involved in them. So a lot of those actually I have, and I didn't realize it until I was reading up on OCD. For instance, in high school, I used to do this a lot. I used to organize my papers on my desk, and they had to be a certain way, or I got very frustrated, and I couldn't really focus on the class if they weren't organized a certain way. I really like things to be even. It bothers me if they're not. If it's in my space, usually my depression will kick in and it'll make me very apathetic, and so I won't worry about it so much. But if I'm in public, it's very much so something I focus on. Another thing that I noticed was the whole exactness aspect. I was making bags the other day, like little candy bags for some friends, and I had to count out every single one of the candies that were in there. And it's not like a big deal. Like to anyone else, it's probably like, okay, that's a little weird. But to me, I was just like, okay, well, they have to be even. Like there has to be the same amount for everyone because then it's fair. And so that's kind of usually my thought process for anything that's this obsessive compulsive in my personality, that it has to be fair. Everything has to be fair. And I don't really know why that is. I mean, I'm sure it as part of my anxiety, but I've never really found the root of the reasoning behind it. Um, so there's, one or two, I guess, in this case. I had mentioned in a previous take that I need to start things on the hour. I'm very particular about it. If I don't start something right at like noon, it'll ruin my whole day. I will be unfocused all day. I will be frustrated. I will be irritable. It's just terrible. I don't want to be around anyone when I don't start things on the hour. And so, like, I will actually, if I don't wake up at exactly 7 or 8, I will stay in bed until the next hour, even if it makes me any bit later than I'm supposed to be. Um, hmm. Like previously mentioned, I won't eat anything that's bruised. Um, I I won't eat grapes or apples or anything like that has a bruise in it. It bothers me incredibly. I usually end up giving them to someone or throwing them away just because I can't do it. And people see it as wasteful, but I cannot do it. And I don't know why. And it's just something that I go through. But typically, these aren't things that are super um, impeding as far as life goes. At least for me. For me, they're not a big deal because I don't have to. Um, well, okay, that's not true. I don't like to leave a job unfinished, especially if it's something that I have like 2 more seconds and I would be done. I don't like doing that. It drives me insane. I'd be thinking about it all day. And I have another really weird one about being on time. If I have a set schedule, I don't like to be late, and if I do, I get very uncomfortable. And since I've been medicated, it's been a lot better. But previous to that, I was working retail, and I forgot to clock in or something like that, and I freaked out for the rest of the day. And my manager immediately, who my manager is now one of my very good friends, immediately picked up on it. My whole vibe changed. I was just so on edge. No one really wanted to come near me at that point because it was different. My whole vibe was different. And that was kind of like one of those first signs that I had realized something wasn't right with me. So after talking to some people about it, I realized that this was probably one of the first signs that I had anxiety. And I really desperately want to focus on the fact that this is not something that, singles you out. This is not something that is super uncommon. Most people with anxiety have OCD tendencies. They're actually very similar as far as diagnosis. And those who have OCD tendencies um, tend to also have anxiety. So it's pretty common for them to go together. And I don't want it to scare you in any sort of way. I don't want it to stress you out because it is something that, if you have anxiety, it's something that you go through. It may be more serious or less serious, but either way, it's not anything to be ashamed of. And, you know, as far as everyday life, in your jobs, it might be something that is treasured. And in your, it might not be. It just depends on your workplace environment and what kind of skills that you can bring to the table as far as your own mental illness. It's not something that should weigh you down. It's definitely something that should raise you up and make you the strongest person that you've ever met, because realistically, you have one more weight on your back than every other person. Not every single person in this world can pick up and stand where you stood. So I want you to know that. You're a strong individual, even with these obsessive compulsive needs. You are stronger than your anxiety. So please know that. I'm going to end every single one of these videos with a song of the day. And song of the day, when I was getting my glasses, my brand new glasses that I'm wearing currently, was "Stand Tall" by the Dirty Heads. And it just has a good message, and I think that it's the perfect one for this topic. So don't forget to stand tall. Have a good night.